zero level damage. Search. Oh, again.
Man, I'm on the edge of my seat right now. Like, oh wait, this could be a lot of damage right here. Oh, never mind. I take it back. It's another. Wow. Vortex kick. Vortex kick. Bart's
And
down.
killing that
Gotta be
Bart's.
game.
Oh,
Wow.
wow, that's game.
Hello everyone and welcome to week 3 of the Wbel Enthusiast League. I'm joined with my co-host Maechen,
Howdy.
and we're going to just go ahead and jump straight into the standings. Alright, so here are the standings. In first place we currently have Surftaco, Ram9, and Kellz, all with 2 points. In second place we have Unhindered, KoushouHaou, Loji, and Isvar, all tied with 1 point each. And currently we have ChaseVsAll, Alkor, and Funded, who have yet to find their first point. So, ready to get into the matches and see if they're able to find those points this week.
All right. This match we got Alkor's Who's Your Daddy showing the Durando, Seymour, and the Fire Oberon going against Ram9's Rock Boys of A2, Titus, and Surges. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
All right, Alkor's side, we got the Fire Katanas and Oberon and Seymour paired with Durando. And on Ram's side, we got a Ice-Water combination. We see here Seymour using a Water Protection TMR, a great tech to hopefully fend off some damage from the Titus. We got A2 doing an agility buff and her sealing buff, and then we got Ram9. Surges is running to the middle. Looks like he's trying to set up Titus for a Heiska. Let's see if that's what he does. Titus goes, and he... Oh no, he also does Oceanic Protection. All right, so we got both sides prepared for the other side's element, and they look like they're charging to the middle pretty quickly here, so we should have some action soon. Oberon got an AP restore buff as well as some other good things going, and we'll see if the fire is enough to take out the A2 and if the water's enough to take out the fire guys on the other side. So
Yep, here comes the first damage, and I mean, I would say tanked up really well. I mean, still did 6,000 damage, but Durando has a lot of health, so it was not even... It was about like a third of his HP actually, so that's actually really good to see from Alkor's side because only the Durando got caught up in that limit burst. He is immobilized, which is going to limit his tanking ability. Oh, and here comes the Heiska now. a little bit later than expected, but still welcome. Actually, much better for Ram9 side because that means the haste will last longer. Ooh. And ooh, that did some damage on the Durando, but he is barely living. Here comes the Oberon, though. Let's see how much damage he's going to be able to deal, because that's going to be huge, seeing how much damage this Oberon can deal against the A2. I'm not expecting it to do much against the Titus, especially with the Oceanic Protection, but honestly, it's not as much as I was hoping, but at the same time, it's also not too bad considering the Oceanic Protection giving the Fire Res buff. And Seymour should be able to follow up and chain on the A2, but let's see how much the Titus does against the Oberon. Also not looking like a whole lot. So that's actually, once again, really good on Alkor's side, because I think the Titus is going to be pretty scary, given the elemental advantage, but once again, the Oceanic Protection buff coming in spades. The Seymour coming in, going to chain up, and taking out the first life of that A2. She has her re-raise, so she's going to be able to get one more attack in, but the chain damage on that was fantastic coming in with the Seymour. 8,000 from a Seymour, I wouldn't have expected that, even with the chain. But let's see how much A2 can retaliate with. Not bad damage, all considering, and there goes the Durando. So now it's pretty much, let's see how much damage this Oberon can get done on the Surges and on the A2. Ooh, once again, not as much as I think Alkor was hoping to see there. But he was able, like the Oceanic Protection buff, I think still is on for maybe one more turn. So if he doesn't go for the Seymour here, I think if he goes for the Seymour, oh no, this could be bad. I mean, the A2 is still low, and the damage against the Oberon wasn't too high, so this Oberon might have a chance in the 1v3, but it is a 1v3, and one of the three is an A2, so that's a hard hill to climb. But well, he just said, well, let's make that a 2v1. I think he healed back all the damage he just took and counterattacked. So yeah, I think unless this Titus brings out crazy damage against this Oberon right here, I think this is looking pretty favored in Alkor's side. But like I said, the Oceanic Protection buff is probably off, so he might be able to deal some more damage. Never mind. I thought he'd be able to deal a lot more than that. So, yeah, unless this Surges and this Titus put in some crazy work. The Surges is doing about 4 times as much damage as the Titus did, which is crazy given the elemental disadvantage. But yeah, with the heal backs and the damage output from this Oberon, I don't really see a way that this Titus can really come back in this, especially with no AP. It's, I mean, maybe this one's going to turns.
Slapfest time. Here we go.
Yep, Slapfest. Yep. 600. Well, the follow-up doing another 1,000. But yep, it's just a battle of 600 damage versus 600 damage. Okay, there's actually some pretty good damage with the Oberon being out of AP.
7 turns.
7 turns. I still don't think Titus can get there, but with that 4,000 damage, there's a chance. There's honestly a chance. Okay, never mind. I take it back. There's no chance. There's no chance. Odin just shut that down. He's like, I'm tired of this fight. We're done. We're done.
We're not going to turns. Yep.
We're not going to turns here.
All right, that was a very impressive match. GG's to both those players. Alkor bringing in the 2 fire units was a very good call against the 2 ice units. Although that seemed back and forth for quite a while. At one point, it looked like heavily into Ram 9's favor when he had it down to a 1 versus 3. But that Oberon was tanking hits even from Titus. That Oceanic Protection early on being very crucial for Alkor, for him to withstand some of those hits. And then it just became when Alkor was able to get rid of those 2 ice units with Oberon, and it became 1 versus 1. Oberon just had a little bit more juice than Titus did and was able to pull it off. What do you think about that, Chisei?
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think the Oceanic Protection from both sides was a really good call. I think both sides prepped very well for the other team, as we could see from just like the tankiness of each side, because neither side had a unit that really went down that easily. You know, Durando went down first, but even then, he took, you know, a limit burst from A2 and a full attack from A2, and then he went down after that. So both sides incredibly tanky, incredibly well prepared for each other. And like you said, the fight went back and forth all the way till the very end, when, like I said, just the Odin sealed it off. So yeah, very close match and well prepared for both sides.
Absolutely, yeah. As a key to the match, it's hard to say. I would definitely have to say that the thing that tipped the balances in the end was having 2 very hard-hitting fire units going against 2 ice units. I think that even with just the one UR Oberon, Fire Oberon facing off against 2 ice units, it really helped tilt the balances at the point where Alkor needed it to, and it ended up tipping it all the way into his favor for the win. So that would be my key of the matches, is just the prep and bringing the 2 fire units.
Yep, that's pretty close to mine too. I think if I were to pinpoint it down to like 1 turn, or at least the turn that made my eyes grow the largest, would have been the chain with the Fire Oberon and the Seymour, because I think without that chain between the 2 units, I don't think that A2 would have gone down, or it would have been much harder, because she survived pretty much until the end there. And yeah, without them chaining together and having that elemental advantage, I don't think that A2 was going down anytime soon. So I think that one attack from Seymour that did 8,000 that popped the re-raise, that would be my key of the match. And plus I want to give Seymour the key of the match anyways. So a little bit of bias there.
Fair. He definitely earned it. He definitely earned it. You don't see many people doing that much damage to A2, so and you'll be able to pull it off even with a chain. Impressive. Well done by Alkor. GG's to both players.
Absolutely. GG's to both players.
All right, next up we got Isvar and his Elda Enthusiast League with Surges, Minwoo, and Young Elda, the double Pierce comp, going against ChaseVsAll's Brave Frontier of Raychez, 2B, and Dea. Let's see what they do.
Yeah, excited to see this 2v.
Yeah. So we got on Isvar's side the double pierce comp. On the opposite side of the map, we got a full katana team going with 2 water units and 2B, which is wind. They're going to have some time to buff because they're starting in the opposite corners, and running into the further corner too is Elda. So, but perfectly lined up for all the buffs to happen. Surges is going to run out ahead, which is probably what Isvar would like to see. A little hasted up so you get further out ahead, and he's going to start charging another spell. To be doing her buff that kind of leaps her forward and moves after, so that's a big movement for her.
Speaking of leaping forward. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Surge is leaping straight into the enemy team, doing not a whole lot of damage against the A2, and taking a lot of damage himself. That was about 8,000 from that Ray chest, so I'm sure this is not what Isvar wanted, because I think this Surge is probably going to go down well before King Elda or Young Elda gets into the I take that. It's what I say. He's down well before Elda gets into the fight. So yeah, that
and to be able to run backwards and do more buffs because of it too. So
yep, he's like, okay, time to reset. Let's go buff again. Ready for round 2. Dea getting her re-raise buff online. And yeah, we're seeing the Ray chest just. The Rage is just gonna solo this entire team from Isvar going in, but let's see how much damage the Elda can do. Okay, about half the health to the Rage chest, which is not bad at all. Minwoo healing that damage right back up. So at this point, if Rachel is kind of pulling a Surges, where she's kind of now trying to 1v3 the entire team, because Elda might, yeah, King Elda just destroyed the Rages, and now it's a 2v2. That being said, knowing how good Young Elda is, I give this to Isvar. So, but we'll have to see, because Dea is no slouch, and I want to see 2B put in some work. So that damage actually was a little bit less than what I was expecting to see come out from the Elda. So depending on how much damage the A2 and the Dea can deal, only 900, but I think that was still, his physical barrier was still up, so it's probably a little bit of remnant of the physical barrier there. Let's see. Oh, Dea not even caring for the Elda, going straight for the Minwoo, which is probably what you want to see if you're Chase. Except when Minwoo can just heal it right back up. Unfortunate for Chase, because I think that now, it's pretty much over. I don't think Dea is going to have what it takes to be able to bring this 2v1 back. If she can one-shot the Minwoo, maybe, but even then, it's rough, because I think Elda also has his re-raise. It was an uphill battle for sure. She still has a chance, but oh, here comes a comment. Minwoo just, once again, just like the Odin in the previous match, Minwoo just saying, nope, this is finish it off right now.
So that was another interesting match. I was a little surprised to see some of that action, because we saw them from the opposite side of the screen approach each other, and then Surges with his leaps, moves, and hasted up really got into the fray before the others were even close on Isvar's side. And Chase's side was able to knock Surges out quickly, but then to his detriment, Rachis kept running forward, and 2B ran backwards to do more buffs. And I think that alienated Rachis, and Elda was able to take care of her. Whereas if Elda had to fight all 3 at the same time, it might have been a harder battle for him to do with all that slash chaining. So once Elda was able to take out the Rachis, it was pretty much a done deal, because he couldn't one-shot the Minwoo, and the Minwoo was just too fast and her heals were just too strong. Can't whittle him down when she gets top off each turn. So it was kind of a seesaw in that beginning, heavily on one side, then back to the other side. And just didn't bounce back after that, but unfortunately for Chase, but well played by both sides, and I think Isvar's Elder was just too hard to overcome at the end. What do you think, Chisei?
Yeah, like I said, you basically took all the words out of my mouth. That was pretty much exactly what I was going to say. I think that, as sad as it is to say, what Chase really needed versus that Elda is for all 3 units to chain him down. And unfortunately, the Rachess tried her best to 1v1 him, but with the Minwu support, this was not going to happen. Even then, just her 1v1ing without Minwu support wasn't going to happen because Elda's just that crazy good of a unit. Unfortunately, the 2B and the Deo were way too far in the back, so they weren't able to join quick enough. But I think if all three of them were there and they were able to chain on the Elda or especially the Minwu to take her out early so that her heals weren't a factor, that would have been a completely different match. But yeah, both sides having, their one unit that wanting to go in and take everything on themselves was definitely rough for both sides, but especially rough for Chase.
So as for the key of the match, I would have to say it would have to be Elda's shield and tankiness at the end, because once that Rachess went down, it just was too much tankiness for the two other units, even though they're both DPS in nature. They just couldn't cut through the shield and his tankiness fast enough, and through Minwu's healing fast enough. I think without that kind of thing, if it was any other unit, they might have been able to do it, but Elda's such a good, strong, tanky Pierce unit, and a bruiser that he was able to withstand it and turn that match around. So that would be my key of the match.
Yep, I'm going to have to completely agree. Like I said, Minwu definitely did some good work with her haste, with kind of being a pseudo tank by taking the damage and healing herself back up, but I'm gonna have to give it to Elda. He had the damage. He had, like I said, the barrier was huge. It took a while for them to chew through that, and yeah, he just was a tanky boy who did a lot of damage. So definitely have to give the key of the match to him as well.
Yeah, well played by Isvar. GG's to both players.
Yep, GG's to both players.
All right, next up we got KoushouHaou with the Mundivigan Orit Warriors going against Unhindered, Soak and Destroy. On KoushouHaou's side, we have Surges, Helena the Black Rose, and Y'shtola. Unhindered bringing one of his faves, Agrias, Silma, and Lightning. So let's get into it.
Yep, excited to see what this Helena brings.
Yeah, it's the first time we're seeing Helena in our league. I think she wasn't even drafted by that many people overall in the whole tournament. But we know she's a scary unit and can pull off some crazy stuff, so we'll see if she's able to do it in this format on this map. Unhindered's hopefully gonna try to have an answer to her, but gonna be interesting to see if he can do it. Y'shtola doing her buff and running forward. Unhindered's turn. He's got that is Elena's TMR that does light and dark resist. That might help for some Helena damage. Agrias is running out front. Always good to see the tank do that. And Lightning, who we also know could do some scary damage with some follow-ups, following up behind. Helena putting her protect and debuff resistance online. Silma probably charging a fast cast here, giving Unhindered side some speed. And Surges is going forward. Y'shtola also, I don't see Y'shtola that much, so I'm not even sure what buff she has stored for us. Lightning giving some agility to her team and accuracy, and Agrias running forward and getting things started with their limit burst.
This could be huge if it lands a Confuse. Oh, I thought it was on the Helena, but never mind. Still didn't land the Confuse either way. Okay, so we got you're right. So it had the fast cast on the Agrias. So now she's all hasted up. So one thing I did notice, I don't believe the Lightning was able to get her follow-up buff online. So if she's in range to attack this turn, she might be losing out on a lot of her damage. The Limit Burst coming out from Helena only dealing about 4,000 to the Agrias, which is actually pretty good for an Unhindered side. Agrias is known as a magical tank, but definitely only being level 120 against one of the strongest units that's come out in recent memory. Only taking 4,000 is pretty good. But the elemental advantage from the Y'shtola, once again, only doing about 3,000. Not too bad. The Agrias surviving both the attacks from the mages is massive. Unfortunately, she's out of AP, so she's just going to run forward and do an auto attack. But that might be good, because now Lightning can get her pursuit buff off. She was not in range to attack, but that's exactly what she needed, and she's hasted up. So this Lightning is ready to roll, ready to deal some damage. Let's see if Helena can find an AoE on both of them here. I was going to say, I don't think so, but with her crazy range, I never know. I never know. So there goes the Agrias, finally going down, but I would say doing her job pretty well. Refreshing the light buff, which is also huge. That should go a huge way in making sure that this lightning can survive and deal her damage. Oh, but unfortunately the slow lands on the lightning. Thankfully she does get her turn here coming soon, but she probably won't get another turn here anytime soon. Probably not before she's dead, so she has to make this one turn count. Oh, it takes out the Y'shtola, but that Helena is incredibly healthy. Yeah, that is rough to see if you're unhindered, because that's I would imagine this Helena's probably gonna clean up. Okay, she doesn't one shot, but the lightning's unfortunately not gonna get another turn before the Helena gets another turn. So both Surges and Helena are going to be able to deal some damage, and with neither having courage or re-raise on either of these units, but having a preemptive attack, I would say if she could preemptive her way into winning this fight, that would have been something, but unfortunately not for Unhindered side.
All right, so that was a good win picked up by KoushouHaou's side. That Helena was just very impressive, as we kind of expect to know from her, but not only did she bring the damage, but she was tanking hits really well. When lightning was able to come in and do some attacks, even with the follow-up, hardly any damage. Plus that heal back that she has is just a big mountain for Unhindered to climb, and unfortunately he just couldn't do it this time. What do you think, Chisei?
Yep, no, that's exactly it. Like, it's the Helena. We know how scary of a unit she is, but we also have seen Lightning put out some crazy damage in previous weeks, so we know Lightning's a good unit too. So I was expecting the Lightning to be able to, at least take out her re-raise or chunk her down close enough to where the Selma could follow up and take her out, but seeing the Lightning only deal probably pretty much a combined total of about 2,000 to 3,000 with her attack plus the follow-up on the Helena was very shocking to see. So KoushouHaou prepared incredibly well. Like I said, I know that Helena has her physical mitigation, or her wide physical mitigation, so that definitely helps a lot against Lightning's huge life siphon attack. But that still being said, she tanked incredibly well for being a mage unit. So yeah, that was really well played from KoushouHaou, and also really well played from Unhindered. The buff rotation worked out really well. The Agrius was incredibly tanky. I was really surprised and excited to see, once again, a level 120 unit tanking that well. But unfortunately, like I said, the damage from the Lightning wasn't there on the Helena.
All right, as for key of the match, I had to decide between two things: that Helena with her protect and her area damage reduction buff made her very tanky, so it was hard for Unhindered to chew through her. But I think he had less of a chance to do so because Surges was able to land that slow. Lightning was hasted up, I believe, at that point. So who knows if she would be able to kind of have that speed on her side to do more damage, to get through those shields and barriers and whatnot. But she didn't have a chance because she was slowed, and when she took her last turn, it was done after that. So I would have to give the key to the match to that slow landing on Lightning.
I think I'm going to have to agree there. I think the slow was huge because I think Lightning using the life siphon was to mostly take out that Y'shtola, because I think once that Y'shtola was down, I think she probably would have gone for the Army of One, her limit break, which is single target, which would have gotten around the wide physical reduction buff that she had, and she still would have had the protect, but the limit burst dealing a ton of damage plus the follow-up might have been enough to at least pop the re-raise, and being hasted up, she might have even gotten another turn to finish her off. Or in a magical dream scenario, the limit burst killed her and then the follow-up killed the re-raise. So, but yeah, so I think, but we never got to see that because of the slow. So I think the slow shutting down the haste and afflicting her with slow, I'd give the key of the match for sure.
Right, so well done by KoushouHaou, and GG's to both players.
Yep, GG's to both players.
All right, next up we got Kellz and the Feather Force with Fang, McLeod, and Surges going against Get Funded's Descending Angels with Hope, El Sorel, and Knight of Ruin Stern. Let's see what happens when they meet up in the middle here.
Yep, let's see.
So getting into this match, we have Kellz, who is currently undefeated, trying to continue that streak, while Funded is looking to get on the board. So let's see if he can play spoiler and get a point while he's at it. Surges, as we've seen before, he's good at doing his buff and running forward. McLeod building some missile res and accuracy. There is some, I think Elserel has a sub-gunner job, so it might help with that. On the other side, we have great swords, Funded bringing a couple of old school great swords, so this should be interesting. Both can dish out some damage when they get close, so let's see if they're able to get to that middle and dish out that damage. A hasted Knight of Ruin Stern can pose some potential problems, so let's see. Next up, we are going to get a Stern to go again, and since he's hasted up. Oh, but running backward, reapplying some haste. Surge is going to run to that other side and said, if you're not going to meet me in the middle, I'll come over to your side. McLeod looking to run down the stairs and join the fray. And Elserel's up next. Doing some double resist of her own on her side. And we got Hope. Going to be the first one to charge in the forward.
Ooh, that my boy Hope doing some damage. I was trying to restrain myself, but let's see how much damage the Knight of Ruin Stern can also do. So Hope, for the record, this did 9,000 damage, while the Stern only did 3,000. So Hope, clearly the better unit. No, so a really good strong start from Funded side. Oh, Hope just doing his damage and then bowing out, saying, you know what? I did my job. I'm done. Taking about 13,000 damage in total. The Elserel, man, this is fists are flying. The Elserel coming in, taking out the Surges, and we are down to a 2v1. But this Fang has put in a lot of work for Kellz. So, the one-time barrier from Knight of Ruin Stern keeping him nice and safe, while the Elserel didn't take a whole lot of damage. So with the 2v1, once again, she also has a barrier of her own, but hers is just a 7,500 physical health barrier as opposed to a one-time barrier. So might as well have been a one-time barrier because that did a lot of damage, and she has to basically one-shot them both right now, which she almost does. That was a crazy amount of damage. She didn't move, but unfortunately she does not get to lap, so I don't think, yeah, I think this should be it for her. So wow, once that fight started, it was high octane from the start to the finish. Wow.
Agreed. Yeah, that seemed like they had a lot of time to buff in the beginning. They didn't start too close to each other. Neither side had a lot of movement to run to the middle fast. On Funded side, he had turns to buff. I think Elserel was able to give double resist, which I believe is Pierce and missile resist. So that Pierce resist, I think, came in big when they finally met up with Fang and the others on the other side for Kellz's Pierce team. So they definitely had all those turns to do those buffs. But once they started meeting in the middle, they were smacking each other hard. And it looked like Funded had it won for a while when he had it 2v1 versus Fang, but Fang dished out the damage her last turn. Unfortunately, it was her last turn. She couldn't lap even though she didn't move, that you pointed out. And the two other old school greatsword units were able to put her down in the end. So well played by Funded. What do you think, Chisei?
Yep, just both of the sides just completely going in and dealing massive amounts of damage. You know, Hope starting off the fight with 9,000 and then getting retaliated on by a 3,000 and like a 10,000. then Stern comes in and another 10,000. Like, it was just massive damage back to back to back the entire time. The only time where there wasn't massive damage was when it was being mitigated by a shield. So whether it was Stern's one-time shield or Fang's 7,500 health barrier, those ones helped keep them in the fight, especially Stern, because you saw that one-time barrier soaked up the damage, but the next time he took damage, it was like a full 10,000 from Fang, so that barrier saved his life for sure. And without that barrier, I think Fang might have even taken it. I mean, Elserel was still there, and like I said, the double resist buff probably is what helped keep her alive, because she only ended that fight with 3,000 HP. Unless Fang had 100% Pierce res, that resist buff probably came in massively clutch. So yeah, really fun fight to watch. Like I said, I couldn't even commentate fast enough because of how fast the sparks were flying. Really fun to see.
Yeah, a lot of fun. If I had to go with the key of the match, I would have to actually, you might be happy with this, but I have to actually give it to Hope, because I think Hope did such his massive damage in the very beginning tipped the scales so far into Funded's favor that it was such a huge uphill climb for the other side to kind of overcome. And and it was just too little too late. Fang did a great job trying, but it was a case of too little too late. I think without Hope setting up that team, though, I think it would have been easily tipped back into the scale. So Hope doing that massive damage in the very beginning, I think, was the key of the match for me.
I tend to agree, and like I said, I'm also biased with Hope, so I might be a little too biased here, but with Hope dealing, I think, 9,000 damage off the bat, and then the follow-up hit that killed the unit was only 3,000 damage from Knight of Ruined Stern. I don't think that the Greatsword units would have had the damage to chew through that unit. I think it was Sergei's fast enough. So I think without Hope bringing that magical damage into the mix, I don't know if, like you said, I don't know if they would have been able to go through through his team fast enough. So I think on Funded side, Hope was a key part of it, even though he did die in the first turn after he dealt his damage, but he did his job, and that was all he needed to do.
He did his job, that's right.
Yep.
But well played by both sides. It was a very exciting match.
GG's to both sides.
All right, here we got Surftaco's Glassy Animals with Dea, Dario the Crystalborn, and Seymour versus Loji's Logical Fallacy with Curry, Miranda, and Minwoo. Let's see how they fight it out. Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, starting off, it looks like we got Seymour representing Surftaco doing his Addison Ray TMR to get any hits to cancel haste. Good Versatime Mage on with Miranda on the other side. Got the full Katana team coming out here with the 2 MR Katana units with the new Dario. Should be an interesting setup. On Loji's side, you got Miranda, who's casting a spell right off the bat, and Loji's Minwoo casting a spell as well. You got Curry popping off the Jealous Wrath. So we know his Frostmaw Barrage has a big AoE, maybe hoping to land some Berserks. And a Quicken strat too, double Quicken strat. So he's trying to get those Berserks off early, but with those Quickens, the Jealous Wrath sends a tech down and less chances to proc it. So we'll see if he gets a chance to land one of them. Minwoo, let's see if she's going to go for another double Quicken here with Minwoo and Miranda teaming up. Oh, but Dia popping off the Berserk Resist TMR, so that's going to counter that Jealous Wrath. So we still got some interesting strats here to go. It's not just fully about Berserk. We got some Frostmaw Barrages that you have to work out with the Frostbite, but let's see what kind of damage he does. Here we go.
Ooh, okay, well, so he brought out a single target attack. I was expecting the Frostmaw Barrage, but the Sharpshoot, so I'm guessing the AoE resistance on the Dario must be pretty high. The Quicken coming out so he can chain with himself, but still only dealing 1,400. I think he had one more turn of the Berserk TMR left when he attacked, but with the Berserk Null, that was not a factor at all. So there's no status effect coming out from the Shadowbind, there was no Frostmaw Barrage, and the Berserk didn't land. So I think Loji was expecting to see a few more status effects and was hoping that a few more would land, but unfortunately it just kind of looks like the Katana team is just trucking their way through. That being said, Miranda was able to get some good damage on the Seymour, but with the elemental advantage and Seymour only being an MR unit, I was kind of expecting a little bit more, to be honest. That being said, the Curry just keeps on dealing the 1,000 damage to the Dario as they keep getting closer. The Seymour over on the Enthused side doing a good amount of damage over to the Miranda. Once again, with the elemental disadvantage, I was expecting to do a lot less, but that actually was really well, a lot of damage coming out from the Seymour. But healed back up, and then Dario comes in and starts a chain, which unfortunately I think Dea is way too far back to be able to follow up on. Just getting a few more buffs on, getting Shell online, which could help against the Miranda. I expect her to probably take out the Seymour right here, but probably won't deal too much damage to anyone else. But let's see. Yep, takes out the Seymour, and then yeah, Dario taking nothing because of that barrier. Curry coming in, doing his 1,000 damage again. This Dario is going to live until the end of time. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I have to see how much damage this Dea can do. The Dario is dealing a good chunk of damage too. I'm not going to discount him, because look at that. With the elemental disadvantage, still taking out half of Curry's health. but having Minwoo as a support to heal that back, as long as she has heals, this Dea is going to need to come in and start cleaning up some units. Because this Dario is not going to die. This Dario is unstoppable. He is here for the long haul. So it's basically what's going to end up in first. Minwoo's heals or will Dario's damage get there? Because or maybe Dea will get here in time and save us all. Because now they have a barrier. So I think we're in for a long fight.
Right, here we go.
Oh my gosh. Dario's once again doing his triple hit, so the barrier should be gone now. Dea should be able to come in, I'm guessing at this turn, to be able to start dealing damage. Let's see how much she can do. Oh, that is massive. About 13,000 damage or so between the two hits. So yeah, I think Dea getting into this fight is going to be able to clean up the rest of these units, but let's see Dario bring out his Limit Burst, a really cool looking Limit Burst. I actually don't get to see it that much. And the Berserk lands. Oh man. Like I said, I thought Loji still had a chance, especially if she was, because if she was able to take out the Dea, then it would be a 2v1 and I could definitely see this team winning on turns. Excuse me? Oh wait, oh wait, this is just too much damage going on. Hold up. That Minwoo just hit the Dario for about 6,000 damage, and then the Dea comes in, destroys the Miranda, and really chunks down the Minwoo. But now I think Minwoo is going to be in healing mode for probably the rest of this match. But the match is only 4 more turns, so the rest of this match isn't too much longer. Let's see if Dea can finish this off or if it's going to go to turns. She is able to clean up the Minwoo here and take home the win.
All right, so we got kind of a slow grind match going. Definitely could see what Loji was going for in the beginning with some status effects, some quickens, keep the enemy on the other side with hopefully a lucky immobilize. Unfortunately didn't land. Not sure if Surftaco, I might have missed a buff, but I'm not sure if he brought stones to help resist the immobilize. He definitely brought some to resist the Berserk, so he was prepared for the Jealous Wrath. Didn't get to see Curry pop off Frostmourne Barrage. I don't know if because the AoE resist was high, or if Loji's strategy turned it off. I'm not sure which. But the team from Surftaco was able to crawl across the map. They were hitting back and forth like wet noodles until Dea stepped in and said enough of this, and she started slamming hits left and right. And then Minwoo, when she went damage mode, she was getting some damage, but everyone else was just kind of just in sustain mode until they were taken out. So kind of an interesting match. Wasn't expecting that to happen, but kind of interesting how it played out. What do you think, Chisei?
Yeah, I mean, like the only thing I would say is like I think the damage was. I wouldn't say it was quite wet noodle because it was the Seymour, going against the elemental disadvantage, still doing about 4,000, 5,000. But when you have the Minwoo there to heal everything right back up, and Miranda having her heal back, it might as well have been a wet noodle. Like it was like super impressive from the Seymour to be able to deal that kind of damage in the first place. But at the end of the day, they were all still basically full health by the time Dea showed up. So. But yeah, so it was like you said, it was a sustained match. Unfortunately, I do think Loji's strategy really hinged on the Curry being able to quicken, chain with himself, deal status effects, and then deal that upfront damage to maybe taking out a unit or two, or at least really heavily crippling them with status effects before the fight was able to close in, and then Miranda to be able to do her job. But with all the preparation over on the Enthused side, being able to have the status effect resists, and be able to survive incredibly well to be able to make it to the other side. I think, like I said, the Curry unfortunately didn't end up being too much of a factor in this match. The Miranda did great work, and the Minwoo obviously being able to heal, and that surprise 6,000 damage on the Dario at the end was also massive. But yeah, the Curry unfortunately wasn't able to have the impact that I believe Loji was thinking he would.
Very creative attempt by Loji, and well built by both sides. It just favored Surftaco on this one. I would have to say the key to the match would have to go to Dea. She was perfectly positioned to do what she needed to do when she needed to do it. Dario and Seymour to a degree provided enough distraction for her to get all buffed up and in there to just lay down the damage when the time came. So I'd have to give the key to the match just to her approach.
Yep, I think I'm gonna have to agree. I think Deo is the star of this match here, being able to not take any damage, to be able to let the tank do their job while she just kind of made her way across the map, get all of her buffs online, and then by the time she came in, basically one-shotting everyone on the enemy team. So yeah, I definitely would give it to Day as well.
Good match. GG's to both players and well played.
GG's to both players and congrats to Enthused. All right, after all of that, here are the standings for week 3. In first place, we have Surftaco with a 3-0 record. In second place, we have Ram9, KoushouHaou, Kellz, and Isvar, all with 2-1. In third place, we have Unhindered, Loji, Funded, and Alkor, all with 1-2. And then finally, we have ChaseVsAll, who is still searching for that first win. So, absolutely fun matches once again this week. I feel like I say that every week, but the matches are always fun to watch. They're always high octane. You can probably tell from my laughing and my smiles that I'm always having a great time just watching these matches. It's always my privilege to be able to get to see these matches firsthand. So yeah, I'm always having a great time, and so I appreciate all the prep work that all you guys are always putting in, and it's always a pleasure to watch.
Agreed with that. It's a lot of fun doing this with you. Appreciate the opportunity. I know I'm still fairly new at this and still finding my ground, but I still have a lot of fun doing it. And a lot of fun matches this week. I feel like each match was completely different. A lot of interesting strats. We saw some players get on the board with their first points, but still anyone's game this season. So we're still early on and anything could happen. So looking forward to the rest of the season.
Absolutely. So thanks everyone again for a great week, and I hope to see you guys next week.
See you next week. GG's.
GG's.